It's important to understand the role that you play in a particular, organization. Trio, duo, quartet, big band, doesn't matter. And my role is to make everybody sound good. My role is to present and create a foundation that frees everyone up to their creativeness. There's a certain drummer, actually, he was a great drummer. He passed away. He played with Hard Silver for a while. And we used to play together, and he used to call me the magic carpet. We had such a great hookup, with the quarter note. And he felt totally free to do what he wanted to do. And when I'm playing behind a vocalist, or I'm accompanying the piano player or the saxophone player, well, then that's what I want to do. I want you to feel free, unencumbered, to play what you hear, what you feel. So that means I have to provide a good beat. I have to provide the correct notes. I have to be extremely understanding of the harmonies, and how to give you the best note that's going to allow you to play what you hear, or hear what you didn't hear if it were not for that note. Mm-hmm. So I didn't practice necessarily or focus on how to play with this singer, separate from the role that I understood how to play with anybody, But of course, there's certain things that you have to take into consideration with a vocalist. And also contrast, Do I want to play so much up in thumb position, when I'm playing with the vocalist? Mm-hmm. Or is it more necessary for me to give her or him, this strong foundation, of this quarter note and half position, So these are, and see, the other thing is you must always be aware of where you are, who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the best way to do it. What is going to be the best way to make all of this work? There's many variations of vocalists. You may be playing with a vocalist that doesn't necessarily sing every note in tune. Maybe he or she is trying things that maybe they don't always reach what they're going for. So I have to find a way to really help them do it, You know, it's a broadening of one's concept and perception that's needed. And I like to feel that I help this person accomplish what they tried to do.
Hmm. That's a lot of responsibility for one person only.
It sounds like that,
Yeah.
you know, but it's all happening, you know,
Yeah.
in the microsecond.
Yeah, totally.
You know.
What I meant before with patience, that I see patience when I look at videos from you with Sarah Vaughan, you know, waiting for the moment to play your note that supports her, waiting to bring her in, you know, hearing, listening, but with such a incredible patience. But there's also patience in the way you play quarter notes. A patience where some people would freak out with, like, I played this note, now I played this note. Wow, how do I make it work with the next note? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have patience, you can make it work within a multitude of notes, you know,
Mm-hmm.
after a while. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in the concept of patience in a broader sense, patience in music,
Mm-hmm.
having your ego in check, or having your ego work for you in a way, as opposed to the
Mm-hmm.
other way around, and
Right.
having also a patience in the detail
Mm-hmm.
of things.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Right on the head, man. You know, and you know, as a you know, patience is something that one might say, you know, comes with age and comes with experience, you know. But what about, you know, when you're 17 years old and you're playing with, you know, or 18 years old and you're playing with Sarah Vaughan, you know, and you know you're like a young bull, you know, you're learning all this stuff, you know, and you can't wait to get on the bandstand to display what you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, you know, patience can be hard to have. It can be hard to have, and you can feel stifled. Um, and patience may not be something that comes to you, um, you know, so easily because you're anxious. You know, I mean, you practiced all day and you worked on these different things, and you can't wait to get on the bandstand and display what you know. Yeah, you know. But do you defy or deny your responsibility because you're learning more, you know, more intricate stuff? And do you is it about, you know, you just using this as a platform to display um, your dexterity or your um, uh, flight of hand, you know, uh, or are you still required to fulfill your responsibility, regardless of how you mastered this diminished scale today? You know, so it's a challenge, and but it's it's the challenge that you need, and through facing that challenge, you realize quicker than you would if you didn't what is the essence of the music. What is the essence of the music? It's not about how fast you can do this, or, continually looking for the spot, but understanding that in the process of playing on the bandstand, this is still a learning experience, and it's not about, separating playing your instrument from playing the music. Yeah.
Yeah. That happens often with people practicing, right? They separate music making from working on their instrument.
Yeah, and you hear it many times, you hear a person performing, and the thing that stands out is their technique. I don't want for someone to come and hear me and all they hear is technique. I want them to come and hear me and hear the music. Wow, he's so musical.
Yeah.
That's the point of technique. That's when technique is really working for you. When your technique is allowing you to play what you want to play what you hear, and to warm someone's heart as they listen to what you play. It's not how fast you can run up and down the scale, So these are things that take a sense of selflessness to master. And as you strive for it, you develop this sense of selflessness. Music is about a way of living, and I think that we'd all be better off if everyone studied a bit of how to play music. Art Blakey used to say, the music that we play, people come to hear us to wipe away the dust of daily life.
Yeah. That's nice.
And that's so true. That's so true. And, there's been all kinds of scientific studies that prove that, one, through one studying an instrument or how to play music, creates more gray matter in your brain, which makes you more adept at doing other things that seemingly had nothing to do with music. You become a better mathematician.
Mm-hmm.
You're better at geography.
And it also strengthens the collaborative thing, right? We have to work together to make it work.
Right.
We have to listen to each other.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great way to develop one's understanding of each other, and to develop our humanistic selves.
Thank you for checking out the podcast. If you enjoyed these conversations, please join me on patreon.com/PabloHeld for more educational videos on various musical topics, early access to episodes, lead sheets, online hangouts, listening sessions, music recommendations, Bandcamp discount, and more behind-the-scenes stuff from the podcast. The generous support of my Patreons helps me to pay for the running costs of the podcast, and it also helps me to keep it going into the future. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the episode. What I also like, going back to Sarah Vaughan and your time with her, is that there's such a great balance of taking the music and the gig as serious as possible, but taking the whole situation also in a way, it seems lightly, in the best way. Like I've heard you, and the whole band is laughing at times or making jokes and stuff like that. So there's a lightness also in there.
Mm.
But then Sarah sings, Hot House on What Is This Thing Called Love, and you guys are with her, and it's as serious as it can get.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, who is singing with her on Misty? Who is that?
That's the piano player, Kirk Stewart.
Right. For a moment, I thought it was you because in Cologne I heard you sing, which was great. I loved it.
No, it was Kirk Stewart. He was, and he had a great voice.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great voice, and the way we would do that was on Misty.
Right.
And she'd be singing the second chorus, and she's coming up to the bridge to the release, and the lights the lights would go out, and you'd hear this male voice, "Can't you see how you're leading me on?"
Yeah.
And then the spotlight would come back on, and then of course the spotlight's on her, and she would, this is all part of acting. She would say no, and she would point over to the piano player, and then the spotlight would go to the piano player. Oh man, and the people would go crazy.
Oh, it's great. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Show business.
yeah, show business. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's exactly what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
to have that balance between.
Yeah, you gotta be having fun on the bandstand, man. If your seriousness is such that you're not having fun, then it's a labor. It's you're laboring,
It's not playing anymore.
Yeah, it's not playing.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not playing music.
Yeah.
Now you're laboring music,
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta have a great time on the bandstand.
Mm-hmm. All those songs that you played with Sarah, or just in general, like back then, how did you learn standards?
Oh, through having to play them, I mean, you can set a goal for yourself. Okay, I'm gonna learn 5 songs today. Well, that's fine, but then you're gonna get on the bandstand tonight and play 5 songs that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we had, you got sheet music and all, but you how long are you going to have to need the sheet music to Autumn Leaves?
Did Sarah have a book?
Oh yeah, she had a book.
Uh-huh.
She had a book. But you don't see us reading any music on there. No, we learned it all.
Mm-hmm. Was there how thorough was the rehearsal process for the band book of her?
Well, it was as thorough as necessary. I mean, I don't remember really tedious rehearsals. See, my fortune was to play with these people, that what they did was sort of like as natural to them as breathing in and out, and that's something that I try to get my students to understand these days. Sometimes, they talk too much about the music. Let's play it. Okay, now you got everybody's got a chart. This is a new piece, the only person that knows it is the person that brought in the chart, So now but then they want to talk about it. Well, why don't we play it? You know, then we'll know what to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, so there was never time wasted. You know, Sarah Vaughan and Betty Carter or Freddie Hubbard or but Miles Davis, we never rehearsed at all.
So how did you prepare for the gig when he called you?
First of all, it's Miles Davis. You're supposed to already know his music.
Of course, yeah.
And I did, but and of course, so you got a new piece that someone brings in, Freddie Hubbard brings in one of his pieces. Okay, we gotta learn it. But the thing is, are you ready? In other words, do you know the language? And that's what we do. That's what we call practice, learning the language. And of course, you got to learn all the intricacies of your instrument, but you got to learn the language of the music. There's certain sequences that are basic that you gotta learn how to go from this chord to that chord, and then in my case, I'm playing single notes, and if it's 4 beats, I'm playing 4 different notes. I mean, when bass players were the role was taken over by the bass player from the tuba, from the tuba to the bass player. Well, in 4 beats, we just played 2 notes, boom, 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 boom. But as things advanced, then it was really about outlining the chord, and finding the notes in the chord that really, create a musical statement rather than just a boom, 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 And, so all of this is, experimentation and it makes it all exciting. It makes it all very exciting.
Now, what happens if somebody puts a new song that you don't know in front of you? What do you gravitate towards first? What do you check first? Do you have a process for that?
Well, I'm looking at a new piece of music. First thing I want to do is what's the time signature? What key am I in? And maybe I got some certain notes to play, certain figures to play. I probably got chords that I have to play and create my notes in these chords. Or maybe it's a piece that only has 1 or 2 chords, right? So I got to concern myself with that chart, and I'm also listening for, what the composer was going after, So as much as I need to learn my chart, the bass chart, I'm listening also as I'm learning this, how it fits with everything else. How it fits with what the drummer's doing, how it fits with the, what the saxophone player is doing, and also and as well as the figures that are written on my part, that I have to play, that coincide with what someone else is doing, So, and then what is the structure? What is the structure of the piece? So, as the composer hands out the music and he says, okay, this is the structure is AABA. Now you got to know what AABA means, or ABA, or we play down to the sign, go back up to the top and take the coda. You got to know what all of that means.
Mm-hmm.
And now, and it doesn't take more than, the guy or whoever it is saying that, and okay, let's play it. Let's see what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, once you play it down the first time, you got a good idea of what you're supposed to be doing. Or even before that, especially, if you know the structure, AABA. Well, now, if you play the first A, you know the second A. You got the B, now probably what's the last A.
Mm-hmm.
The coda is the ending, and you know what you're going for. When you're playing, there's difference when you're playing a turnaround and when you're playing an ending.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So these are things that you get this, you can look at your part and see that, before the tune is counted off, you can see all of that.
And would you rather have a bass part or like a score or like a chart with all the information?
I just need a bass part.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I can hear everything else.
Mm.
I mean, I don't need a score because I'm going to be busy playing my part. The score is just telling me what I'm going to hear. Well, I'm going to hear it. I don't need the score.
It's true, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite albums of yours is Something More. And that's one of my all-time favorite albums. I would like to know everything about the history of that album and what the process was of getting the music together and getting these guys together. And maybe if you have some memories from the recording session that you would like to share, I'd be very interested to get a sense of how it was to do that album.
Well, a few things were going on when I was preparing to do that album. First of all, I had done my stint with Herbie Hancock, with the quintet and the sextet. And now we were doing trio, Herbie and Al Foster and myself. And every summer we would tour Europe and we'd take a different horn player with us. Once it was Michael Brecker. One other summer it was Branford Marcellus. Another summer it was Greg Osby.
Right.
And but during that time, we didn't record anything. And I wanted to get that trio recorded. The trio, Herbie, and Al and myself. So I had this opportunity to do this record with, I think it was In and Out Records. Yeah, Frank Kleinschmidt.
Mhm.
And so I put the band together, the core being Herbie and Al and myself. And I wanted desperately to record with Wayne Shorter. So Wayne Shorter and trumpet player that I really like, Shuzo Ono. And so that was part of my inspiration to do that, to do this record. And I was writing. So, and also, people were talking to me about putting my own band together. And I had told myself I was not going to put a band together of my own until I was writing music that I actually wanted to play night after night. You know, because Horace Silver was a great composer, and Horace Silver wrote great songs and had great bands, and he'd play a whole night of his music, and it was varied and wide range enough that you never got bored. Wayne Shorter, could play a whole night of his music, with Herbie Hancock, we'd play a whole night of his music, So, and I decided that when I was writing music that I would want to play all night, not just because it's mine, but because I like it. I really like it, and it's exciting, and it's it's going to be a trip. Then I would put a band together, and the other thing was, how long would I like the record that I just did? Something more. When we finished that record, and a week later I went in and mixed it, I found that, because usually when I finish a project, okay, I'm through with it. I've lived with it long enough. I don't necessarily even want to hear it anymore,
Mm-hmm.
But it was something different about Something More. When I went in to do the mix, wow, I really liked it.
Mm.
And 3 months later, I was still listening to it, and I liked it. So I decided, actually I did the record in 87, I believe it was. Or was it 80? I think it was 87.
We
It
can
came
check
out
it.
in Europe. Hmm?
Let's look at it. I recorded in 89, March of
Okay.
89.
And it came out in Europe first before it was released over here. But in 1990, I decided to put the band together. And Gabby Kleinschmidt, who was an agent in Europe, she wanted to work with me, and she started, booking European tours for us. And I think I was doing the booking myself for the States. and we started touring.
Hmm.
I had Billy Drummond on drums. I think I had Benny Green on piano,
Mm-hmm.
and I had Ralph Moore, tenor player, and so that was the band, and Shuzo Ono. So I had a quintet. Oh boy, we had lots of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And we played night after night, and you know the audiences were great. They seemed to enjoy the music, and we enjoyed playing the music, and the guys, they seemed to, you know, they seemed to like to play my music. So that was a big plus. That was a big honor,
Mm.
and it just blossomed from there.
But I mean, the songs like Air Dancing and Christina and Something More. I mean, not Something More, but I think Air Dancing and Christina, you played with Herbie many of those summers throughout the years. And
Yeah.
there's so many great recordings of that also, which I love. But the thought that you've developed the music for so long and then finally went into the studio to capture it.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any kind of pressure on you that you felt like after touring it so many times, then to have a definitive version on the record?
Well, the thing about the records that's different from playing on tour is, you know, you played tonight, but now the music's all out in the air, you know? And, you know, it's like it happened, you know, but it's like ephemeral. It's gone. But when you put it down on record, it's there forever,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, you know, that's the difference. Not that it should create necessarily angst, you know, or fear or whatever, but there is a concern that okay, this performance is going to be eternal, whereas the performance last night, well, it's not. It's over. It happened once and it's gone. So that was the difference. But also, I think I had recorded Christina. The first recording of Christina was with Sphere.
Oh, right. Okay.
Charlie
Yeah.
Rouse, Ben Rowley,
Mm-hmm.
and Kenny Barrett. And I don't think we had done air dancing. Yeah? But also
Deception.
mhm,
Deception you also did with Herbie.
a Decepticon.
Oh,
Yeah.
Decepticon.
Not
Okay.
Decepticon, but Decepticon, yeah. And also the arrangement, I think of I Didn't Know What Time It Was.
Yeah.
I first did that with Sphere.
Yeah.
But we made some alterations when I did it on the record. Some harmonic alterations. Yeah, but
Was
but
it your
anyway,
idea?
that was
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that album. Something More was sort of monumental in decision making for me, because that album, as I've said before, you know, not to be redundant, but that was what made me decide to put a band together.
I have a very specific question about Christina.
Mm.
I recently learned the song, tried to learn it. And after a certain while, after the first part is done, you land on a C sharp pedal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back to the F sharp pedal, which is also the intro.
Right.
It seems to me it's like a different length when you arrive at it the second time. But my main question is, if you play with somebody like Herbie, how definitive or how definite are you in terms of naming the chords that are supposed to happen on top of that pedal? Because sometimes I think I'm quite sure about the first two chords, but then Herbie seems to be doing something different each time. So I'm wondering, how did you name the chords for the pedal, or did you just say F
Well,
sharp pedal?
you name the chords. Yeah, I named the chords. But first of all, Herbie's always going to do something different,
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, it's always going to be something better than I wrote, you know. But in that pedal, when I'm playing the C sharp, it's sort of like a C sharp sus kind of sound, But I mean, the only thing that's definite there is the amount of bars.
Mm.
You can play it the way you hear it.
Mm.
I'm going to play the pedal. You can, there's so many things that'll work with that.
Yeah.
And you're free to find all of that until we're going back to the F sharp. Then we're back at a major. We're back at a major chord.
Mm.
But no, that's not defined.
Cool. When I think of Decepticon, you just earlier in our conversation, you said something about laying a foundation that will enhance everybody's creativeness.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you're doing it in playing, but you're also doing it in composition. When I hear the guys and you playing over that song, over that form,
Mm-hmm.
it feels to me like it's a springboard for anything to happen, and that anything can happen over that form, or sometimes maybe even outside of the form. My question is, if you have a form like that, G minor for a couple of bars, and then the other chords, what was your process on working on still playing structured, in a structured way, the form of a piece, but kind of zooming out and having it more broad, more universal? Because I know you can be as definitive as you can be, as precise as you can be in terms of chords. You can zoom in, but you can also zoom out without losing the focus. I want to know more about that.
Well, the structure. First of all, I don't want to put handcuffs on anybody that's going to play my music. I don't want to write handcuffed music. It can only be played this way. I mean, I like to hear what I wrote, but I like to know that what I wrote allows you to play what you hear, with a structure, with a harmonic structure, with the certain set of amount of bars. But the way you hear it and the way you can, and it depends on the player, I don't want to say that the music has to be can only be played by someone with a certain sense of sophistication, but the more sophisticated one is, the more varied one's interpretation will be. And the music, I like to feel that my music allows for, the nth degree of sophistication, or the most minutest degree of sophistication. Because if you just play it the way it's written, is it going to work? I want that to work, as well as far as you can take it out, because on the bandstand now, and I've the band that I have, we've been together so long. We'll play on the bandstand, and it may be a performance that you think the song, but you've never heard it like this. It's the same structure, it's the same set of chords, but the way we perform it, the way we do it, can make it sound totally fresh and new. And that's what I'm going for every night. I don't want it to sound like it sounded last night. And with a band, you'll play the same tunes night after night, and it's your challenge is to make it fresh every time you do it. I can't stress, too much how many times in the years of 5 or 6 years that the Miles's band was together with Herbie, Wayne, and Ron and Tony, and they played Autumn Leaves. How many different ways you're going to play Autumn Leaves? Even All Blues. You could hear it. You can hear the band play, at the Vanguard every night, the Village Vanguard, and you'll hear them play those tunes, and each night it'll be different. That's the magic of this music, man. And what you're hearing is musicians learning something new about themselves
on stage.
Stage. Right in front of you. You see, you're experiencing creativity.
Yeah, but coming out of being vulnerable, right, on stage,
and a lack of fear of being vulnerable.
Yes.
It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. How did it feel for you when you were on the bandstand with them then?
It was amazing. It was amazing. And my first night on the bandstand, like I said, was with no rehearsal. And we were playing at this club in San Francisco called the Both And. And Miles had just recorded the record ESP. So the first tune was Agitation. I had never played Agitation, and nobody prepared me for it.
Yeah. But had you heard it on the record?
Of course I had heard it on the record.
Yeah.
But there's nothing truly definitive on the record, And that's what it was on the bandstand. I got to play what I'm hearing. You know, we did Agitation. I think then we did Round Midnight. And after the melody, we went into Triple Time.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we did So What? And I Thought About You.
Ah.
You know, and I mean, man, it was like the greatest experience of my life. You know, and I'm joining a family, and these guys were a family, and there was nobody else doing what they were doing. You know, I look over at Tony, and you know, Tony looks just like a ball of smoke. You know, his legs are going like that, and he's playing. You know, and you know, Herbie just splashing stuff out. Wow. And so, and then on intermission, we come off the bandstand, and Miles sort of like keeps me beside him for the whole intermission. We're sitting down at a table, and we're talking, and he's not talking about the music or nothing. You know, and we played 5 sets. Between each set, he's spending all his time with me, just talking, you know, and telling me how he likes my playing. And I think the third night of all of this, I get up enough nerve to ask Miles a question, you know, because we're talking about cards, we're talking about clothes, he's talking about Bird, you know, and I'm listening to him talk, and, you know, we're laughing and stuff. So I said, Miles, you know, I said, you know, everyone is so free on the bandstand. I said, I want to know, you know, do you want me to be as free as them? You know, because I'm thinking that, you know, I'm trying to confirm my responsibility. So, you know, and he looked at me, and he got this bright smile on his face, and his eyes gleamed, you know, and he said, Buster, he said, when they play fast, well, then you play slow. And when they play slow, well, then you play fast.
Yeah.
And I said, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? You know? But it let me know, you know, wait a minute, man. You're here because I want you here. I want you to play, you know. This ain't no stock arrangement. This is no, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that. You know? So just him saying that freed me up. Freed me up. And I knew that, you know, what I heard and what I felt was okay for me to do.
Yeah. Wow, now I have so many questions. What did he say about Bird? Did you remember when he talked about Bird?
No, I don't even remember.
Okay.
Man.
So, okay, but after a couple of nights of playing, did you check back with the other guys trying to talk about the music? Did they have
No,
more
we
to say?
never talked about the music.
Yeah.
Never talked about it. I mean, I heard Wayne say one time, he said, well, if you got to talk about it, why play it?
It's good.
And that was always amazing to me. It was like, let everybody else talk about it. If you're doing it, right, everybody else is going to be talking about it, and they're going to be coming up to you and telling you, you know, all about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, we never talked about the music. I mean, and you knew, because that's the way it was. It was, you know, you're not supposed, you know, if you come to work with uh well, I don't I can't even say it.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, I learned that a true leader um in this genre, in this profession, chose the musicians. You know, he needed to have the ability to choose the musicians that would work together on the bandstand. That was that was the first talent that Miles had. If you were on that bandstand, then you were supposed to be there. He knew beforehand, you know, when he put the band together with Ron, Tony, and Herbie and Wayne, you know, and Wayne, I think Wayne spoke to you about that when you interviewed him, you know. And Wayne talks about the phone call that
Right.
they had, you know, you know, Miles had never heard, no one had never heard this particular uh, uh, formation together. And so it was exciting. Wow, that was really nice. You know,
Who called you?
Herbie,
So what did he say?
he said, I was living in LA at the time. I had moved out to LA. My wife and I was with Nancy Wilson. And my wife and I had got married, and Nancy was the maid of honor for my wife at our wedding. And she was moving her operation out to Los Angeles. Um, she was living in Chicago. She wanted to go out to Los Angeles and break into the Las Vegas scene, you know, in the Coconut Grove in LA and the Fairmount Hotel in San Francisco. You know, in other words, broaden her whole thing, start making more money, you know, and we put a different kind of show together. And so Nancy happened to take off. She was taking off for 5 weeks. And it just so happened that I got the call from Herbie just as she was preparing to do that.
Had you had played before with Herbie?
You know, I had met Herbie and Wayne and Tony and George Coleman.
Oh yeah, right, in France, right?
In France at
Playing
the,
opposite. Yeah.
the Jean Lapont.
Yeah.
And we were staying at the same hotel. And I met them down at the pool. And so no, I hadn't really played with Herbie before that, I don't believe. But Herbie called me and said, hey man, we're coming out to San Francisco, and Miles wants you to join us at the both end. It was like 2 days from the call. And so I went up to San Francisco on the opening day and got on the bandstand. In fact, Herbie and the guys were all staying at a house on Grove Street in San Francisco. And so Herbie told me, to come to the house. And so I got off the airplane, me and my wife, and we went to the house. And they had a piano there. And I took out my bass and we played 8 bars of So What? And that was it. Herbie said, okay, man, fine.
Herbie stopped you after 8 bars?
Yeah. Yeah, we played 8 bars. And we played, I think, a chorus, and that was it.
Great.
And then next thing we were on the bandstand.
Mm-hmm. Great. Buster, how well were you able to hear yourself in that band? I'm talking about, was there amplification involved?
No,
was
we
it
didn't
acoustic?
have amps there. We just had a mic.
Yeah. Oh, you had a mic in front of the bass and it went into the PA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And, but I mean, we learn how to play without amps.
Yes.
And how to hear each other. There was no question. I mean, there was no complaint. I can't hear myself. I can't, they could hear me. I could hear them. I could hear myself.
Yeah.
It's only when we started using amps and pickups, that everything got confused. Now, you can't do it unless you got this, unless you got that, But, we all started out, man, it was nothing but us and the instrument.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
And everybody knew how to blend so that everybody could be heard. It's like, where did those days go? I mean, I love, the fact that we got the amps and pickups and, and better mics now, but it's like, it's like, when we had to learn how to tell time, through what they call a rotary clock,
mm-hmm.
And then everything became digital, and now nobody can tell time anymore. You had to figure out what was 4:13 on this digital clock, on this rotary clock. Now it tells you 4:13. Yeah, or how to count before before we had calculators.
Right.
Had to learn how to count. I'm glad that I came up, when you didn't have these devices. You had to learn how to count. You had to learn how to tell time.
Yeah, these days there's so many gadgets that do the most interesting work for you in a way.
They do everything for you. You don't have to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and I mean, I mean, we can go into a whole nother thing, but but people don't even know how to think for themselves anymore. There was a time when we listened to music with our ears. Now people listen to music with their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sell a record without a video.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that's what we call progress.
Buster, one of my all-time favorite albums is The Prisoner by Herbie.
Mm.
And I'm very, very interested in the time right before Prisoner, while Prisoner, and before the band became M1 Dishi, where there was still Johnny Coles and Joe Henderson and Tootie Heath. And what was the process of getting the music together before the rehearsal? I mean, before the recording of The Prisoner?
Well, you know, we had rehearsals at Herbie's house a few times. But I remember the record date itself, and this is how every record date went. You know, we'd get to the studio, the record date starts at 11 o'clock. When we get to the studio, everybody's on time, except Herbie, you know, and Herbie, you know, may come in anytime, you know, within the next 2 hours, you know, and but you know, we grew an understanding of that and realized that you know, we'll get to the record date in time to wait. Herbie would come in, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours later, you know, and then and sit down at the piano and write. You know, it's not like he was late because he was finishing the music.
Yeah. What was he up to?
You know, writing the music. And stuff would come out great, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you know, these were the, you know, the great nuances of guys, and everyone, you know, had their own creative way of doing things. And you know, I used to think that you know, Herbie was really going to have a hard time because he was always late, you know. But it sure didn't hurt him. You know?
Yeah.
But it's not saying that, you know, that's the example you can follow. It worked for him.
Mm-hmm.
But it probably ain't gonna work for me,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, and I think the Prisoner album Herbie was really influenced, I think. Well, not even use the word influenced, but you could hear Gil Evans. You know,
Yes.
he was, you know, he was focused on that a bit.
Even more so than on Speak Like a Child. Like, it seems like a next step after Speak Like a
You
Child.
definitely have to speak like a child. And for example, he did my tune, Firewater,
Yeah.
in that record. And that was definitely a Gil Evans style arrangement that he put on that.
When did you give him the song, and how was it then to listen to or be part of his arrangement then?
It was okay. It was great because it was different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we were playing the song in the band, and later on, I did a different arrangement on it, and
Yeah, with Fear, right? With some more kicks.
some more kicks, yeah. And we did like the intro, Yeah.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and then the tempo was up there.
Mm.
Yeah. I remember, you know, we also, for example, we played Maiden Voyage quite a bit.
With the
And
sextet.
with the sextet. And Herbie came up with a new arrangement on Maiden Voyage. He added a whole nother section.
What was it?
Forget what it was, you know, after the, you know, it went from what? From the D minor, the D sus to the E flat.
Mm-hmm.
Then it went what to the D flat.
Right. D flat minor.
Yeah. And then it was a whole new another section that we did, about another 8 bars that he added. It was really pretty. I mean, we had great times with that band. It never, you know, it never got stale. You know.
Did
And
you
Wayne
guys play?
used to, you
Sorry.
know, Wayne used to say, you know, a piece of music is never finished.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. What'd you say?
I'm curious. Did you also play "I Have a Dream" live before you guys recorded it?
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Well, didn't he record "I Have a Dream"? Which one is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a recording with Miles where they kind of tried it, or where they kind of rehearsed it in a faster
They rehearsed
fashion.
it, but they never recorded it.
Tell me when we're done, you know, because I can go on.
Yeah, I think we're about done because I have some things I have to do.
No worries. That's totally fine. I'm so thankful that you did this with me. This is
Me too. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I get to see you soon in person sometime.
Thank you, Pablo.
And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed this, man.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye.